Coming to you from helping our music evolve in Nashville, this is the Quinn Spinn. Hey now, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of the Quinn Spinn. I am your host, the Quinn. I am back here for another rousing and riveting installment of one of the official podcasts of Underground Music Collective. We have two now. Real Talk with Gerard Longo. I don't know who that is the other one. I mean, I'm the Quinn. I don't know who Gerard is. But anyway, you should definitely follow that podcast. It's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and more still to come. But not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about what we have coming up today. First of all, you heard All I've Become by Revel 9. That's our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn. Then, now, and until the end of time. And joining me today on the Quinn Spinn, it's not one, not two, but all three members of Spirits Republic. They are an eclectic rock trio based here in Nashville. We did this one over Zoom, and we talked about how they've adapted and how they've just kept working. They've just kept creating here in the Rona times, and that's definitely something we can all get behind. Of course, you know, when you can't focus on the things outside of your control, you turn focus to the things that are within your control, and they have just continued to churn out single after single, project after project, and they have more to come in 2021. So we talk with them about that. Also, we talk about quesadillas, Harambe, The Bachelorette's on Broadway, and a lot more. We have fun on this episode, and I'm going to take you right to it. Hey everybody, as I just mentioned at the top of the episode, I am joined by not one, not two, but all three members of Spirits Republic here in Nashville, and I'm super excited for this one. We're starting the year off right with some really solid interviews here. And guys, first of all, thanks for taking the time to jump on Zoom here and join us today.
Thank you for having us. It's nice to actually officially meet you in person.
Yeah. I mean, the wonders of technology here in the Rona times are definitely a benefit to us all. We can do this from, you know, in person or over Zoom or anything. So definitely appreciate the opportunity as well to meet you all, since, you know, we've all been, you know, at least some degree of lockdown for the better part of a year. So anyway, I do want to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves to the nice people for those who might not know you. So I ask every guest of the show 3 standard questions that do just that. And you can answer these individually, as a group, whatever you'd like. But those questions are: who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
Well, Ricky, I think you should start this.
Oh boy. Well, I'm Ricky, and I play bass, and I guess that is my passion. Horrible at answering questions.
Tell the man why you want to be on his show.
You seem like a lovely person.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I am Russell. My passion is playing guitar and writing songs and making quesadillas. And I want to be on this show because I genuinely enjoy what you do, and you've been supporting us throughout 2020. So figure, why not further this and see if we can make people laugh or just absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I mean, one or the other. I have a question about the quesadillas. What is your favorite kind of quesadilla to make?
Oh man, it's just the experience of taking what you have and turning it into something awesome. So like, if there's anything in the fridge, it can go inside the quesadilla.
So is there one, not to put you on the spot, but is there one concoction that you've come up with that you were pleasantly surprised by?
Geez, it doesn't take much to impress me with food. Let's see. I mean, like, breakfast quesadillas are always just like shockingly good. Just throw like some scrambled eggs and like literally anything else in a quesadilla. And it's usually pretty solid, pretty easy.
All right. It works. Yeah. Sounds delicious. And then, so what about the young man here in the New York Jets shirt here?
Yeah, it's been a long season.
Yes.
I hit things with sticks to vent out my frustration when watching my football team play horrifically. Yeah, happy to be on the show. I'm a big fan of a lot of different kinds of podcasts. You know, I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts like Mark Maron and Dak Shepard, Joe Rogan. So to be on one myself is always a treat. So I appreciate you for having all of us on.
Absolutely. I'm glad we got all three. This should be a lot of fun here. And so now you guys, for those who are unfamiliar with Spirits Republic, you've definitely made a name for yourselves around Nashville. You know, you've created this sound. It's very dynamic, unpredictable, authentic to your eclectic tastes. You know, you never quite know what you're going to get listening to a new Spirits Republic single. And that's what's so exciting about it. So first of all, I want to get a sense of your influences and then talk about why it's important to you guys to keep things interesting and create outside the box.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head because our tastes individually are very eclectic. I think we all kind of meet in the middle at certain kinds of like more like I like heavier, funkier, like 90s rock, and certain classic rock bands as well. I think we all like agree on. I think we all like the Chili Peppers. We all like Primus. We all like Incubus.
I don't dislike Incubus.
I think we all like Led Zeppelin. Do you like Led Zeppelin?
No, not at all.
No.
The outlier out of
John Paul Jones is legit.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think like me personally, I like stuff more on the experimental side. Like as far as like classic rock goes, like I do really like the Beatles and like stuff that kind of changes its general sound. I like Led Zeppelin because their music's super diverse and crazy and like it's interesting. And like I listen to improvisational music like Grateful Dead and Fish, and also kind of listen to like jazz fusion and stuff like that. Kind of bring that into my writing style, like as a guitarist and a vocalist, just kind of taking things that may not fit and trying to make them fit and just trying to make it sound interesting, something that kind of like that makes it sound interesting to me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with Spirits, like they'll talk about their own personal influences, but we kind of all take pieces of those influences and try to present them to each other in a way that we all can like work with and dig. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of how the songs start to present themselves. And then we end up just diving really deep into individual parts and being like, okay, well, this part sounds too much like this. Why don't we just like throw this crazy breakdown right here and, you know, reference that part for, you know, like 10 seconds just because no one will see it come in. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's a whole nother monster. And then we're just serious space in the rehearsal space for like 15 minutes working on like 15 seconds of music.
The pivot with the breakdowns, you see that in On and Bound in particular. That's one single we're going to touch on, specifically the music video, which I really enjoyed, you know, but yeah, there is that sense of experimentation, unpredictability there. And I feel like sometimes people get so precious about like, okay, it has to be this and it has to fit in this box. And you guys just do your own thing and it's authentic and it's really refreshing.
Thanks. Yeah. On and Bound was definitely one of those songs that when we wrote it, it was just like Ricky, just like, I'm slap part. Here it is. You know, it's like, let's do something with slap bass and make it crazy. And then bam, there's the whole like intro, like verse of the song. That all right. But then it was like, as we wrote it, you know, we decided let's slow it down. Let's make a driving chorus. But it's like, what can we put in here that's really abrasive and kind of obnoxious? And that's where it came. It's like let's like if it sounded like a dinosaur stomping after like some like crazy slap funk, like you know, let's roll with that. And that song, it's actually been around for a bit and it's just like a staple of the live show for that reason. And the more like, you know, once we started playing it live, it was like, you know, we tweaked those dynamics until we eventually get in the studio and make it just right.
Yeah, I saw these guys play live 3 times with 2 different drummers before I was asked to audition and joined. So that one I remember in particular, just seeing everyone around me, like their jaws just hit the floor when it goes from one change to the other. Mm-hmm. Cool being able to hear previous versions of it and then being able to put my own stamp on it.
Well, it's impressive. And again, refreshing to see, you know, to see a band just kind of taking those kind of chances, but having it work so well and having it flow so well together. And again, you know, authenticity, I think, is important here, you know, in the music industry. I know there's a lot on social media that might tell you otherwise sometimes, but like, you know, that's the type of thing that really reaches out and grabs people and that people are going to remember an artist by. So 2020 obviously presented a lot of challenges for people. You know, I think we've talked about that on most episodes of this show since the lockdown set in. You know, you guys had just played a tornado relief benefit right before the shutdown. Of course, you remember the tornadoes out there that hit Middle Tennessee just before COVID really set in here in the United States. And then the lockdown happened. So obviously there was a lot going on here in Nashville in particular, but of course throughout the rest of the world that people weren't quite counting on and weren't quite expecting. And nonetheless, you guys kept creating through 2020. You released 4 singles, the On and Bound music video, which I'll let you guys kind of explain the concept of a little bit. But why was it important for you guys to keep moving, and to keep growing despite the challenges presented by 2020?
I think just in terms of, I felt like I'd only played a handful of shows with these guys to begin with. So I still felt like I was the new guy in the band, and I was definitely determined to, work on this body of material. We had a lot of unfinished songs prior to me joining that I kind of wanted to try out and just even familiarize myself with the back catalog. So at any moment in practice, Russell can start playing a song and we can just get right into it. So I felt like a personal responsibility to really improve my role in this band. And it sucks not being able to play live. I think that's when you're really able to feed off of each other's energy. But at the same time, we were able to get into our little storage space that we had from January up until November and really just hammer it out.
Yeah, we were in an interesting position because we actually had recorded those songs, the ones we released, like Decor, City Lights, and On and Bound. We had recorded that in December of 2019.
Yep.
And then we had gotten them back like the same week of the tornado benefit. Mm-hmm. And we had redone the Sanctuary sessions, which is actually at the venue we played that show at. And it's kind of a group of friends of ours, and a lot of the bands that played are just bands that we've been playing with for years, kind of like the home group. And we had gone there the same week of we were setting up for that show, and then we recorded our kids cover, the MGMT cover, and then another unreleased song, a little bit longer, which we put in our quarantine special. We had taken photos, and so we actually had all this stuff like just coming our way, and then bam, like super scary, like terrifying disease, everything shut down. Like we were all out of work for a while, and it just became like, okay, like we don't really know what's going on. So we didn't meet up at first because we're like, okay, like see you guys soon, I guess.
See you.
Yeah. But what we started doing, which we hadn't done really like ever in the history of this band, was all of a sudden we're calling each other every week to talk about our feelings. But like we're like, okay, like we shouldn't meet up until we kind of know what we're dealing with. And then we started having like hour-long phone calls and starting to plan out like, okay, we have this music. How are we going to release it? How are we going to do this? We got these photos. We got, like, how can we still be a band and do what we think we needed to do to release the music and, almost do it completely remote. Luckily, we did start meeting up again.
Was it like a month?
It's like 3 or 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
And we started playing like 2 or 3 times a week at our space, just jamming. Like that was like, we were the only people we were seeing besides like our significant others and whatnot. So yeah, it was interesting. And like, it just was a lot of interesting collaboration, which is why you get some cartoons and some videos of us cooking and some other weird stuff that we might've churned out this year in our horrible TV podcast. And that's just us calling each other every week. Be like, all right, well, what do we do now? What do we, how do we release this music? And what are you wearing underneath clothes?
But to your point, I think the first few weeks, everybody was kind of like, what do we do? Like, you don't know what's going on. You don't know when the pandemic's going to be over. I mean, I think we all kind of hoped it would be by now. And here we are, doing this, over Zoom almost a year in, in person is very limited right now. And there was that sense of, well, what do you do? But then you just have to decide like, okay, well, what can I do? Like obviously we know what's out right now. Touring's out, live shows for the most part are out, but you can create, you can kind of go inward and dig these things out of yourself and really present it to the world in the digital sense and plan and continue to find ways to connect with each other, connect with your audience, that don't necessarily have to rely on the in-person. It'd be great if that were back by now. It'll be wonderful when it does come back. I think this city is going to be bedlam for weeks when it does. But you guys really were, I think, smart about it, just getting in and just creating, and just going for it, and, having all this material certainly helps, when you have it ready, because then you can kind of plan and be very deliberate about that as well.
Well, that was 2020. 2021 is like, what do we do now?
Another point of what do we do? So what is the plan here? I mean, obviously, again, live shows, we don't quite know when they're coming back. We have our hopes and dreams for when the world might open back up, but knowing what's outside of our control, what are you guys focusing on here in the new year?
Well, we wrote like 9 new songs or something over the past year.
Full length worth.
So definitely at some point getting to record all these new songs, all the new material.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that,
but it's it's like when there's no release show or any sort of format to present all of it, that's kind of where we're at. Do we want to do something where we do like a multimedia release where we have all these songs, and maybe do something along those lines? The first show all of us went to together, even before I joined the band, was Tenacious D. So I feel like we take a lot of their influence in terms of just making silly stuff that coincides with it. But these songs all have different moments in the timeline of 2020, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we have the tools. We just have to decide like what's the best way for us. Because like the kicker, and it's like the eternal musician struggle, is we have zero form of income from the band itself. Spotify doesn't, they don't pay anything. And, it's not like people are like, oh, that band Spirits Republic, when was the last time we gave them like $20? And, we have, I moved into a new house, and there's a green room. So we have a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
We have a full recording space that's actually rigged out, so I can do like decent streaming in there. We're meeting up pretty frequently, and like we just keep writing new songs, and they're all crazy. Like they're the coolest stuff this band probably I've personally ever written. I mean, we're literally 10 minutes before we, are in this, we're talking about this crazy breakdown in this new song, and we have 3 more in the tank to work on maybe this week. And it's like, where do we go next?
Mm-hmm.
Will people appreciate this music if we just stream it from the basement? Like, do we need to hire another PR person to tell us where to put the music, or do we need to play the Spotify game and do the playlisting thing and try to get it? I think what we're just trying to do is stay genuine and not try too hard with our content or like rushing a release, because there's no rush until like we could start playing live in front of people. Like what's going to significantly change?
Right.
Is to go viral. If you try to go viral, it's not going to be that cool. So.
Right.
It's like, do we even want to be like viral? It's like, do we want to be that band who got almost as famous as the guy listening to Dreams, like Fleetwood Mac with the cranberry juice? Like, we could do that, but I don't know.
Right. Well, I think there's something to be said for just being able to let this moment take you where it takes you. You have all this stuff you're working on, right? And by sitting with it, by sitting back and not trying too hard to press in any one direction, you can find what feels right. That'll start to really come through the more you work on these songs, the more you work with the tools at your disposal, that lends itself to showing us the way, as it were, and we've of course seen that throughout 2020. It's like, okay, well, what do we have? What do we have to work with? Let's work with that. Same thing here in 2021. I mean, still smack in the middle of this pandemic. There's no playing out right now, as you said. So it's all about just finding that way, finding that way through. And regardless of how long this takes, you have plenty to work with, and you just got to keep going with it.
I would say we're like not even bored. This is the first time in my musical life that I haven't like had a lot of gigs. And like, I feel like this band was always plagued by getting ready for the gig.
Mm-hmm.
With different drummers coming and going, like the beginning of the band, it was always a matter of playing our first album in its entirety, making sure that everything's like spot on, getting some covers, trying to work on tunes. But like, we were all pretty busy. Like, at least me and Ricky before this, Perry's a little newer in Nashville, played in like 3 bands at a time sometimes, and full-time jobs. And it's like, there was never time to just have too much time to work on music like we are. So it's just like, it's kind of cool. But then again, like we're also, I definitely miss playing live. It's just not the same any other way.
Yeah. To have that feedback in the room with you, to have that exchange of energy, that's everyone's hurting for that right now. It's not the same playing to a phone, or even, if you do produce a live stream, professionally, like you still don't have those people in the room, you still don't have those people coming to the merch table, that kind of thing.
I get equally sweaty during the live stream as I do during the show.
Well, that's fair. I mean, at least you have that, even if it's not the people in the room, it's the sweat and it's the putting everything into the performance. One thing I want to definitely touch on is the On and Bound music video, which was a favorite of mine from 2020. So Nashville, for the uninitiated, is pretty much overtaking Vegas as the bachelorette capital of the world with limited tourism right now. You guys got really creative kind of playing on that idea for the music video. And I just want to give you a chance to go into the concept and the process of creating it, if you would. And then of course we'll post it in the comments here when we share this out.
So this is an idea I had for just a generic music video, even prior to moving to Nashville, prior to joining this band. I just thought it'd be hysterical just to do a parody of that, dress up in a wig and a sash and bride-to-be paraphernalia and just sort of, make fun of the ridiculous ritual that takes place on a weekend by weekend basis downtown. I actually live, in 6th, so I get a front row seat to it pretty much every time.
I worked as a sound engineer on Broadway for 5 years, as well as gig down there a bit, and the horrors. So I was like, the thing was, we're like, oh, we're not just going to have like a party bachelorette video. I think it was Ricky's idea that we had to kill him.
Yeah.
It does take a dark turn. Yeah. No spoilers for those who haven't seen it. It takes a pretty dark turn.
So when we decided to do it for On and Bound, I think it was decided that if we were going to do the bachelorette thing, someone had to die. So yeah,
I volunteered as the initiate. I thought like a fun little subplot would be that this would be like my way of auditioning for the band, like they were hazing me almost.
Mm-hmm.
It was all Perry's idea though. Like we didn't say he had to do any of this.
I wanted them to dress up with me, and they were like,
"Hey, let's you guys should kill me in a sex dungeon." That's kind of weird, but okay.
So that's what you're in for when you go watch this one.
Yeah.
So
it's like, let's make Closer by 9 Inch Nails, but make it nothing like that music video, and just say we did.
It was an ordeal filming all that though, because we literally started on March 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Days before our tornado relief show.
It was such a busy week. We were like, things are so wrong. And like, we were like rushing to get this like live thing filled in the sanctuary. And then, we got drunk at Perry's apartment and did the first part of the video. The funny part is that most of the people didn't show up that were supposed to.
Yeah, nobody showed up.
I had one coworker who was my co-star. So shout out to Katie Norman for coming through for us.
And the Sonic Affair studio boys, Scott and Cole, came and helped for that. They were the same ones who did the recordings for us too. So that, we kept it small, like filmed most of it on our phones, like anyone who had a decent iPhone. But then we filmed the second half, like
end of June.
So like we were just like, what do we do? We ended up doing the sex dungeon in our storage unit rehearsal space. It was.
So then it took about, I want to say, a month and a half to edit after that was done. And then we put it out mid-September. So it was looking like it was 5 months all in all from the first beginning of shooting to.
I had to go there and clean all the blood when we moved out of the storage unit. I swear to God, there's like a chemist across, and I really hope it's a chemist and he wasn't doing anything else in there that we could have breathing in.
Chemist in a storage.
Yeah, if our music comes out like real terrible, you'll know it's because we were breathing in meth fumes from the guy across the storage unit while we were filming these videos and writing these new songs. But it was crazy how much blood was still on the floor, and Yeah, we had some fun with it. I mean, we really put a lot of effort into it and a lot of collaboration. And Perry definitely wins the award for hardest worked because his editing of that video really did take 4 months.
I love to edit. It's what I went to school for in part. So I just enjoy getting better at it and being as creative as possible.
Well, I have to say, when I sat down to review that, the first half, it's oh, this is hilarious. And then it slowly starts to take a darker and darker turn. And then by the end, when the death happens, you're oh God, I have to say, just like the music where you like to take these twists and turns, the video took the same kind of twist and turn. And yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but it kept me hooked the entire way. So well done. Well done. It was beautiful, and definitely looking forward to more here in the future from Spirits Republic. Very excited. By the way, I just noticed that is a Harambe shirt, is it not?
It is.
That's beautiful. May God rest his soul. The world hasn't been the same. I actually have a theory that Harambe, when Harambe met his end, that kind of ripped open a vortex that led us down the path that we've been on the past 5 years, and kind of messed up the world, threw the universe out of balance. So
it's Harambe or Trump, and
2016.
Yeah. Well, Harambe met his demise before the election, and then the election happened, and then from there, so really we can trace this all back to Harambe.
I like that. I like that theory.
Yeah. And the Cubs winning the World Series too. But a lot of things happened in 2016 that
that's a good concept album idea.
Yeah. So, well, thank you guys so much for coming on here, joining us here on the Quinn Spinn. We got Spirits Republic on the show for you today, and just want to give you guys a chance real quick to tell the nice people out there where they can learn more about you.
So you got to go to the Nashville Public Library. And all the way in the back, there's a little book, and that's where you're going to find our new album. It's in the Spirits Republic book in the nonfiction section.
Okay.
Is at Spirits Republic Music on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
OnlyFans.
Ooh, OnlyFans.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're really
boy.
messing up this year.
Yes. I would say Instagram is where we keep it the most real. Facebook is a little scary and confusing these days. Our website is probably the best way anyone can really discover our music, because it's really just all there. All the videos, all the places you could stream us. That's spiritsrepublicmusic.com. And our YouTube page also got everything up there. So, yeah.
So plenty of ways to check out Spirits Republic. Make sure you do stream, support, do whatever you can. These guys are killing it out here in Nashville and really creating some interesting stuff. So with that, I also want to encourage you to check out the Quinn Spinn, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. That's the podcast you're listening to right now. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Also learn more about us at undergroundmusiccollective.com. That's our central hub. And learn more about UMC on all the socials. It's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you can, of course, follow the UMC 20 playlist on Spotify that we update every single Tuesday with 20 fresh tracks of fire. We have a new closing theme song for 2021. It's Watch Your Back from our friends Time and Timothy Miles, and I'm going to let that one play us out, and I'll see you next time. Hey now.
Don't gotta watch your back. Don't gotta watch your back. Don't gotta watch your back. No. Don't gotta watch your back. out here being so broke. Your kiss cools me down when I'm getting hot in my head. Checking every corner when we're going downtown. I just wanna go when the lights turn red, but you know how to hold me back. You know how to slow me down. You say that I'm all you need. You say that I'll make you proud. You ain't no dozen roses. You are the golden words from a Moses. We in the river, we gonna roll this. You are my star, I hope you know this. I don't gotta watch your back. You know